Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update. And Spain's public healthcare system is struggling to get back to normal after numerous waves of the COVID-19 pandemic. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise. And a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support and helping me make these videos. Now, let's get into the news. And as I said, Spain's public health system struggling to recover normality after various waves of the pandemic. And as we can see here, Spain's public healthcare system fails to recover after COVID waves. Waiting lists, fewer beds, and overcrowded primary care. Waves of coronaviruses have not been a hiatus for hospitals and health centres. Their impact was mounted on the care of chronic diseases, incipient cancers, unforeseen injuries, which were delayed by saturation. Now, medical and health professionals are calling for the recovery of the Spanish public health care and see an opportunity to improve it. After the storm, the calm does not come, but the repair begins, and all parties involved want to be part of it. The pandemic's onslaught on the system is reflected in the Bloomberg Health Efficiency Index, where Spain has slipped from 3rd to 16th in the world. It may be a one-off blip due to the health crisis, but Pilar Garrido, president of the Federation of Spanish Scientific Medical Associations, warns we are going to live with COVID for a long time. So the pandemic's still having an impact on the public healthcare system here in Spain. And as we saw in that text, waiting lists, fewer beds, and overcrowded primary healthcare. So let's hope for the sake of everybody living in this country that the public healthcare system recovers soon. Now, regular viewers of this channel will know that I find politics here in Spain very, very complicated, and the political scene here is going to get even more complicated soon with the announcement of another political party. And the Empty Spain party would win 15 seats and would be a key to tipping the government according to a poll. España Vaciada, the citizens' movement, which, following in the wake of España Vaciada, is going to run in the next general elections, aspires to the same hinge role played by the Basque and Catalan nationalists, a goal it could achieve, according to a survey published on Wednesday by the newspaper El Español. In this way, the new party, registered with the Ministry of the Interior on the 30th of September, would obtain 15 seats in Congress, 1.1% of the votes, and could claim the role of a hinge party by holding the key that gives access to the government. So politics here in Spain about to get a whole lot more complicated with the announcement of a new political party, España Vaciada, or Empty Spain. And according to one poll, as we saw there, this new party could get up to 15 new seats in the next general elections. Now, the global supply crisis is making headlines today in Spain, and according to the newspaper El Mundo, it is delaying the digitalisation promised to Brussels in Sanchez's recovery plan. The global shortage of electronic components will delay the modernisation of Spanish public administrations. The digitalisation of the public sector, committed to the European institutions as reflected in the Recovery, Transformation and Resilience Plan, will be affected by the delays in deliveries, as several technology companies contacted by El Mundo have now acknowledged. In fact, delivery times are doubling from 30 days to 60 negotiable days, as is the case with the supply of desktops, laptops, monitors and other solutions for the civil service workstation, which is managed with the companies in the sector by the Procurement Department of the Ministry of Finance and Public Administration, headed by Maria Jesus Montero. So the Prime Minister's promise to digitalise the public administration here in Spain being held up because they can't get their hands on computers and components. Now, the leader of right-wing party Vox, Santiago Abascal, is also making headlines, and last week he announced a bill to prevent giving away citizenship to anyone. The leader of Vox, Santiago Abascal, announced last Wednesday the presentation of a bill to tighten the criteria for access to Spanish nationality. Among other issues, he proposes raising the legal residence period to 15 years and accrediting knowledge of the language in order to acquire it. Abascal referred to the proposal as a plan that protects Spanish nationality like a treasure and thus avoids giving it away to anyone. Abascal announced this measure in his speech in the plenary session of Congress during the debate on the latest European summits and councils, in which he lashed out against the policies of Pedro Sanchez's government and accused him of encouraging massive illegal immigration and renouncing to defend Spanish sovereignty. So there we go, Mr. Abascal wants to make it more difficult for people like me to obtain Spanish nationality. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic again starting to become a problem in many European countries, one country in the north of Europe, Austria, has imposed confinement on those not vaccinated against COVID. The Austrian government decided on Sunday to confine unvaccinated people as of midnight next week in the face of an unstoppable rise in the number of infections in the country, which the government blames on low vaccination rates. The situation is serious. We are fully affected by the fourth wave. This is due to the Delta variant of the virus, but it is also due to the low vaccination rate, Federal Chancellor Alexander Schallenberg told reporters. Some 65% of the adult population is vaccinated in Austria, putting the country at the bottom of the list among Western European countries. So Austria deciding to crack down on the unvaccinated, and I know what you're asking, is Spain going to do the same? Well, according to this headline, parts of Spain have started promoting COVID passports for the unvaccinated. For the time being, and although contagions are on an upward trend, Spain is still excluded from the risk zone of the sixth wave that is already ravaging a large part of Europe. However, the regional authorities are beginning to follow the strategy that is gradually gaining ground in other EU countries, focused on isolating those who are considered responsible for the pandemic's return to rampant proportions, those who have refused to be vaccinated against COVID. In this case, by requiring a COVID passport for access to hospitals and other public places. It would not be the first time because communities such as Galicia, Cantabria or Catalonia already require it to enter bars. However, the increase in the number of infections in the last week has led to a resurgence in the use of this document as a way of differentiating between those who are vaccinated and those who are not, so that the former are not harmed. So, there we go. As predicted months ago on this channel, COVID passports most likely to become the norm in coming weeks in many autonomous communities here in Spain. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation here, and we can see that the accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days now sitting at 71.50. There are 1,946 COVID patients hospitalised around the country, and there are 394 COVID patients currently in ICU. Now, changing the topic, and anybody who has tried to rent property here in Spain knows that it is not an easy thing to do. It's expensive, and the guarantees that you have to give landlords are endless. But maybe, just maybe, the situation is going to change soon. As we can see from this headline from the Financial Times, Spain has decided to take on private equity landlords as cost of housing soars. Spain's left-wing government is championing rent controls as property costs rise across Europe, part of a proposed housing law that it says will protect vulnerable tenants against investment funds and other big landlords. Critics say the measure is misguided and will put the country's supply of accommodation at risk. But Ione Belarra, leader of the Radical Podemos party that supports the bill, said it would right the balance in a sector transformed by the Eurozone financial crisis over a decade ago and the arrival of institutional funds. Investment group Blackstone is now Spain's biggest landlord. The big investment fund saw a niche here to speculate in the housing business. Belarra, who is also Spain's Social Affairs Minister, told the Financial Times in an interview. Now we are beginning to put limits to this and say to the big landlords that they can keep doing housing business, but not at any price, she added. Not at the price that there are evictions or that people have to pay more than 30% of their income in rent. Blackstone, which now owns close to 30,000 homes in Spain, declined to comment. So, there we go, fairly clear for all to see that a war is brewing here in Spain between extreme capitalism and socialist communist policies when it comes to the rental market. We'll see who wins. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Tony. Hi Stuart, I'm a bit concerned that when we left Spain in October, there was no police stamping passports, so we asked a Ryanair person at the gate and she said that you don't need a stamp when you were leaving. But we know that you do, so we don't know what will happen on our return to Spain. What are your thoughts on this, please, Stuart? Regards, Tony. Yeah, Tony, thanks for the comment, and there have been a few comments about this same topic in the comment section in recent times, people saying that they are not getting their passport stamped when they leave Spain. And to be honest, I have no idea what's going on. According to the Ryanair person that you spoke to, police don't stamp your passport when you leave the country, but in my experience as a third country national here in Spain, they always do. And as you can see from my passport here, there is the stamp the last time I left. So what's going on? As I said, I've got no idea, but if anybody does have any idea, Please let us know in the comment section below. One here from Tom. Spain and Portugal have the lowest figures of hospitalisation in Europe, which is to be commended. Many northern countries are about to go back to restrictions. I'm worried if these people were to travel back to Spain and Portugal to escape such restrictions as happened in the past and cause a spike in cases in both countries that are currently managing it so well. Yeah, Tom, thanks for the comment, and I'm sure a lot of people are worried about what's going to happen in both Spain and Portugal regarding COVID-19 in the near future. Are hospitalisation rates going to increase like they are currently doing in the north of Europe? And to be honest, I don't think anybody knows for sure, but I know that health officials in this country are confident that the high vaccination rates, and this is also true for Portugal, are going to help save the hospital system. And as we saw a little bit earlier in the video, in the article about Austria, they're calling it a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So as I quite often say on this channel, time will tell. One here from Richard. Hola Stu, great news from down under. So Melbourne is now out of lockdown with movement and access to restaurants and so forth for the vaccinated. We have also opened our international borders, so myself and my wife booked tickets straight away and are flying to Malaga on the 28th of December for 2 weeks. However, the WA Premier has kept borders shut, both the domestic and international, and I believe the CEO of Flight Centre has had enough and is taking the WA government to court to force them to reopen. I hope they open soon so you can visit your family. Yeah, Richard, thanks for the comment, and absolutely I hope they open soon so that I can indeed visit my family. In normal times I would have travelled this December, but thanks to Mr. McGowan, that is not going to be possible. Western Australia has decided, unlike New South Wales and Victoria, that they are not in a position to live with the virus just yet. So enjoy your trip to Malaga at the end of the year and have some pescadito frito for me. One here from Robbo. Hi Stuart, it's been mentioned in papers here in the UK that Spain is looking to change the 90-day rule to 180. Any truth on this? Yeah, Robbo, thanks for the comment, and I'm not sure if that is the case or not. I don't know if Spain is planning on changing that 90-day rule for visitors from third countries. I read a couple of weeks ago, and I think I even mentioned it here, that the Premier of Valencia, Ximo Puig, wanted to scrap the rule, and he asked the Tourism Minister Reyes Moroto to do so. But as far as I know, nothing has come from Mr. Puig's petition yet. One here from Richard. Hi Stuart, road tolls. When I had to escape back to the UK at the beginning of the pandemic because the ferry from Santander was cancelled, I had to drive through France also. The tolls in Spain were okay, but in France there were a lot of tolls which amounted to £150, quite a lot, and it was stop-start going through the barriers. Keep up the good work, Richard. Yeah, Richard, thanks for the comment, and thanks for contributing to the great toll debate that we have been having on this channel in recent times. As we know, Spain is going to implement a new toll system on motorways and highways before 2024. They're still working out the fine print, but it means that drivers here are going to have to pay a lot more to use the roads. As you mentioned there, it is quite common already in other European countries to pay heavy tolls, so Spain is going to join that club. I can tell you at the moment that drivers in this country are absolutely livid about this government plan. And finally, one here from Malcolm. Stuart, feel it's an excellent place to retire to. Granted, it's the weather that's the big attraction. Unquestionable. Yeah, Malcolm, thanks for the comment, and obviously referring to a question that somebody asked in the comment section the other day, is Spain still a good country to retire to? And it seems to be that depending on where you come from, there are different reasons for this. If you come from the north of Europe, as you say, the weather is the big attraction. The cost of living is also a strong point for many, and for some, the laid-back way of life is a big attraction. So whatever the reason, it seems that Spain is still an attractive place to retire to. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.